There is a skill they don't teach you, a way of seeing that reveals what people are hiding, not through body language charts, not through micro-expressions, through understanding the one thing people cannot fake, their patterns. You have met someone who seemed perfect, charming, confident, magnetic. Everyone loved them. 3 months later, you discovered they were lying about everything. You missed the signs that were there from the beginning because you didn't know what to look for. You have trusted someone who betrayed you, hired someone who sabotaged you, befriended someone who used you. And in every case, the warning signs were visible if you knew how to read them. But you were looking at what they wanted you to see instead of what they couldn't hide. Reading people is not about spotting crossed arms or lack of eye contact. Those are performances people control. Real reading is about recognizing the patterns people repeat unconsciously, the inconsistencies they don't notice, the things they reveal when they think they are hiding, the psychological structure underneath their carefully constructed presentation. The people who see clearly, who are never surprised by betrayal, who predict behavior accurately, who know who to trust and who to avoid, are not reading what people show. They are reading what people cannot help but reveal through the patterns they repeat, the stories they tell about themselves, the way they treat people who cannot benefit them, the things they get defensive about, what they admire and what they judge. What follows is not theory, it is recognition training. By the end, you will see what you have been missing. Watch them when they have nothing to gain. How do they treat the waiter, the janitor, the person who cannot help them? You call this small talk. It reveals their core character. Here is what most people miss. Anyone can be charming to people who matter. The mask is easy to wear when there is something to gain. The real person appears when there is nothing to gain and no one important is watching. You are on a date. He is charming to you, attentive, engaged. Watch how he treats the server. Does he make eye contact? Does he say thank you? Or does he treat them like furniture, order without looking up, snap his fingers for attention? You just learned more in 30 seconds than an hour of conversation could tell you. Because when someone shows you how they treat people they consider beneath them, they are showing you how they will treat you once you are no longer useful. The person who is kind only to people who can benefit them is performing kindness, not experiencing it. Real character appears in treatment of people who have no power, no status, no ability to reward or punish. The way someone treats service workers, subordinates, strangers who cannot help them, this is who they actually are when the performance drops. Watch also how they talk about people who are not present. Do they gossip, criticize, mock people behind their backs while being friendly to their faces? You have just learned they will do exactly this to you when you are not in the room. The person who talks about everyone else is talking about you to everyone else. Notice whether they remember names of people they consider unimportant, whether they keep commitments to people who cannot hold them accountable, whether they maintain kindness when they are tired, stressed, not getting what they want. This reveals whether their pleasant behavior is strategic performance or actual character. You want to know if someone is trustworthy? Do not listen to what they say about themselves. Watch how they treat people when there is nothing to gain. Watch how they talk about others when those people are not present. Watch whether kindness is conditional on benefit or is consistent regardless of circumstance. Everything you need to know is revealed in these moments they think do not matter. The mask only works on people who are not paying attention. Listen to their stories. Not the content, the pattern. Who is the villain? Who is always wrong? You call this venting. It reveals who they will blame next. Every person tells a story about their life. Not the events that happened, but the narrative they construct about why things happened. This narrative reveals everything about how they will treat you because it shows you their pattern of responsibility and blame. You are getting to know someone. They tell you about their ex who was crazy, their former business partner who screwed them over, their last job where the boss had it out for them, their friend group that turned on them. Listen carefully. In every story, who is responsible? In every conflict, who is the villain? If in every story they tell, they are the victim and someone else is the villain, if nothing is ever their fault, if every relationship ended because the other person was crazy or toxic or jealous, if every job ended because the boss was unfair or the company was corrupt, if every friendship ended because the friend betrayed them, you have just learned that you will be the next villain in their story. Because the pattern is not that they keep encountering terrible people. The pattern is that they cannot take responsibility for their role in repeated failures. The person who has never been wrong, never made a mistake, never contributed to a problem, never hurt anyone, this person is lying. Not necessarily consciously, but they have constructed narrative where they are always innocent victim and others are always guilty perpetrators. This narrative protects their ego, but it also means they cannot learn, cannot change, cannot acknowledge when they harm others. Watch for the pattern in their stories. Is there any story where they acknowledge they were wrong? Where they admit they hurt someone? Where they take responsibility for their contribution to a problem? Or is every story structured around their innocence and others' guilt? The person who has one crazy ex might have encountered difficult person. The person who has 5 crazy exes is the problem. The person who has been betrayed by every friend, mistreated by every employer, wronged by every partner, this person will add you to the list. You will be their next story about someone who treated them unfairly. The villain in all their stories reveals who you will become. Notice what they cannot accept criticism about. What makes them instantly defensive? What they attack you for questioning. You call this sensitivity. It reveals what they know is true but cannot admit. Here is what defensive reactions actually mean. When someone becomes disproportionately angry or defensive about specific accusation or question, when they attack you for even gently suggesting something might be their responsibility, when they cannot tolerate any questioning of specific behavior or characteristic, they know it is true. The defensiveness is not because you are wrong. It is because you are right and they cannot handle it. You gently suggest to your partner that maybe they drink too much. They explode. They call you controlling, accuse you of being judgmental, list all the ways you are not perfect, turn it into attack on you for even bringing it up. This is not the reaction of someone who is secure that their drinking is fine. This is reaction of someone who knows their drinking is problem but cannot admit it, so they attack you for noticing. Your colleague gets furious when you suggest they might have made mistake. They do not consider the possibility, do not investigate whether you might be right. They immediately defend and attack. This tells you they already doubt themselves, already fear they are incompetent, cannot tolerate anyone confirming what they secretly believe about themselves. Watch what people get defensive about versus what they can laugh off or consider calmly. If someone can handle criticism about most things but explodes about one specific topic, that topic is their vulnerable point. The thing they most fear is true about themselves. The defensiveness is confession. This works in reverse too. Watch what they accuse others of obsessively. The person who constantly accuses others of lying is often dishonest themselves. The person who obsessively questions others' loyalty is often disloyal. The person who sees manipulation everywhere is often manipulative. What they cannot tolerate in others is what they cannot acknowledge in themselves. You can map someone's deepest fears and hidden behaviors by noting what they react to with immediate defensiveness versus what they can consider rationally. The instant aggressive defense is admission. They know you touch truth they have been avoiding, and they must attack you for seeing it before you can examine it further. Their defensiveness is your confirmation. You found what they are hiding from themselves. Watch what they do when they are not getting attention, when the spotlight is on someone else, when they are not the center. You call this quietness. It reveals whether they can tolerate not being special. Most personality disordered individuals reveal themselves in moments when attention is elsewhere. The narcissist, the histrionic, the person who needs constant validation, they cannot tolerate moments when they are not the focus. Watch what happens when someone else is getting attention they want. Your friend announces good news, promotion, engagement, achievement. Watch the person you are evaluating. Can they be genuinely happy? Or do they immediately redirect to themselves? That reminds me of when I'm thinking about doing something similar. Or they find subtle way to diminish. Oh, that company, I heard they have issues. Or they simply become quiet and withdrawn until conversation returns to them. At a party, someone else is telling story that has the room engaged. Watch the person you are reading. Are they listening? Or are they waiting for any pause to interject their own story? Are they visibly bored when not the center? Do they create small disruptions to pull focus back? In a meeting, someone else's idea is praised. Watch their reaction. Can they acknowledge it? Or do they immediately point out flaws, claim they had similar idea first, or become noticeably disengaged? These micro-reactions reveal whether someone can tolerate other people having value, success, attention without it threatening their sense of worth. The secure person can celebrate others, can be audience member, can share spotlight without resentment. The insecure person experiences others' success as their failure, others' attention as their neglect. Watch also what they do when they fail to get reaction they wanted. Do they escalate, get dramatic, create crisis, pick fight? The person who needs constant attention will do whatever necessary to get it. Even negative attention is better than being ignored. You can predict future behavior by watching present reactions to not being special. The person who cannot tolerate moment of not being the center, who must redirect every conversation to themselves, who experiences others' success as attack, this person will eventually punish you for any achievement, any attention, any moment you shine instead of reflecting their light. Their inability to share the spotlight reveals they will eventually demand all of it. Notice the inconsistencies, what they say versus what they do, who they claim to be versus how they behave. You call this contradiction. It reveals the gap between image and reality. People lie with words. Behavior does not lie. The gap between what someone says about themselves and what they actually do is the gap between who they want you to believe they are and who they actually are. Reading people accurately means ignoring the story and watching the behavior. He says he values honesty above everything. Watch what he does when honesty would cost him something. Does he tell difficult truths or convenient lies? He says family is most important thing. Watch how he treats his family when they need him versus when he needs something from them. She says she is loyal friend. Watch what she does when loyalty conflicts with her benefit. The inconsistencies reveal truth. Someone who talks constantly about their integrity is usually compensating for lack of it. Someone who performs their values loudly is often violating them quietly. The person who needs to tell you they are honest is warning you they are not. Watch for specific patterns. Do their actions match their stated values when it costs them something? Or do the values disappear when inconvenient? Do they keep commitments when no one is watching? Or only when being held accountable? Notice also the gap between how they treat people they benefit from versus people they do not. He is generous to powerful people, but cheap with powerless people. His generosity is investment, not character. She is supportive to people who can help her, but dismissive to people who cannot. Her support is strategy, not genuine care. Pay attention to who they are when they are tired, stressed, not getting their way. The real person appears when the performance is too exhausting to maintain. The kind person who becomes cruel under pressure was never kind. They were performing kindness until the cost became too high. Read the pattern of inconsistency. Someone who occasionally fails to live up to their values is human. Someone who consistently violates their stated principles while loudly proclaiming them is showing you that the principles are performance and the violations are character. Believe the behavior, not the story. The behavior is who they are. The story is who they want you to believe they are. Watch who they keep around them. Their friends, their partners, the people they choose. You call this social circle. It reveals what they value and who they actually are. Show me your friends and I will show you your future. The people someone surrounds themselves with are not random. They are a mirror of who that person is and what they value. If you want to know who someone really is beneath their presentation, look at the company they keep. Are their friends people of character or convenient people? Do they maintain long-term friendships or cycle through people? Are their closest relationships with people who challenge them or people who enable them? Do they have friends who would tell them hard truths or only friends who agree with everything? The person surrounded by yes men and sycophants is revealing they value validation over truth, comfort over growth. The person whose friends are all users and takers is revealing they either cannot recognize healthy relationships or prefer transactional ones. The person who has no long-term friendships is revealing they cannot maintain relationships once the initial excitement wears off. Watch how they talk about their friends when those friends are not present, with genuine affection and respect, or with subtle contempt, competition, comparison. The way they talk about their closest people reveals how they will eventually talk about you. Notice also who they have removed from their life and why. Did they cut off toxic people after genuine harm? Or do they cut people off the moment those people challenge them, disagree with them, stop being useful? The person who burns every bridge is showing you that you are just the current bridge. Pay attention to the pattern of their romantic relationships. Are their exes all crazy, all abusive, all at fault? Or can they acknowledge their own contribution to relationship failures? The person who has never been wrong in relationship is lying about their past and will lie about you in their future. The quality of someone's relationships reveals the quality of their character. Healthy people have healthy relationships with other healthy people. Toxic people are surrounded by either victims they exploit or enablers who excuse them. Disordered people cannot maintain relationships with people of character. Those relationships end when the disorder becomes visible. You are who you surround yourself with. So are they. The darkest skill is knowing when to walk away. Before they hurt you. Before you become their next story. Before the mask drops completely. You call this paranoid. It is protection. Everything above teaches you to read people, but reading people is worthless if you do not act on what you see. The darkest part of dark psychology is not manipulation. It is recognition that some people cannot be saved, cannot be changed, will harm you if you stay, and your responsibility is to yourself, not to them. You see the patterns. You recognize the warning signs, the inconsistencies, the blame shifting, the inability to tolerate criticism, the need for constant attention, the way they treat powerless people, the quality of their relationships. You know who they are beneath the performance. Most people see the signs and ignore them. They make excuses. Everyone has flaws. Nobody is perfect. Maybe they will change. Maybe I am being too judgmental. This is how they end up devastated when the person they knew was dangerous proves to be exactly as dangerous as the patterns predicted. The skill is not just reading people. The skill is acting on what you read. When you see someone who blames everyone else for their problems, you do not wait to become the person they blame. You leave before you are invested. When you see someone who has no long-term relationships, you do not believe you will be different. You recognize the pattern and protect yourself. When you see someone whose behavior contradicts their stated values, you believe the behavior and adjust accordingly. This is not cynicism. This is pattern recognition married to self-protection. Some people are exactly as their patterns indicate. Your job is not to fix them, save them, prove them wrong about themselves. Your job is to see clearly and act accordingly. The people who are never devastated by betrayal, never shocked by someone's true nature, never destroyed by toxic relationships, these people are not lucky. They are not less trusting. They read the patterns early, believed what they saw, and removed themselves before the cost became catastrophic. Read people. Believe what you read. Act on what you believe. This is not dark psychology. This is survival. You now know what to look for. The patterns people repeat. The inconsistencies they hide. The behaviors they cannot fake. Use this knowledge wisely. Reading people is not about collecting techniques to manipulate them. It is about protecting yourself from those who would manipulate you. It is about seeing clearly so you can choose wisely who to trust, who to avoid, who to invest in, who to remove from your life before they damage it. The patterns are everywhere once you know how to see them. How they treat people who cannot benefit them. The villain in all their stories. What makes them instantly defensive. How they react when attention is elsewhere, the gap between what they say and what they do, the quality of people they surround themselves with, whether they take responsibility or always blame others. These patterns predict future behavior more accurately than any promise, any charm, any carefully constructed image. Because patterns are unconscious. People can control what they say, but they cannot control what they repeatedly do. The skill is twofold. First, developing the awareness to see these patterns when they are still subtle, before you are invested, before the cost of leaving is high. Second, having the courage to act on what you see, to trust your observations over their explanations, to believe the pattern over the promise, to protect yourself even when they make you feel guilty for seeing clearly. Some people will call this cynical, paranoid, untrusting. Let them. Those are the people who have been hurt repeatedly because they refused to see what was obvious. You are not being paranoid by recognizing patterns. You are being realistic. The world contains both good and harmful people. The good people will not be bothered by your discernment. They have nothing to hide. The harmful people will be furious when you see through them. Your clarity threatens their ability to use you. Read people. See clearly. Act accordingly. This is not dark psychology. This is refusing to be a victim to those who study dark psychology to use against you. The ability to see is your protection. Use it.